Hi everybody, it's Allison Durant coming to you from my temporary living room space again today, and I'm so excited to do a video of my studio as it's kind of coming together now. So I had my new glass door installed today, and I actually started this video by doing a studio tour and thought I could just hook you all up to my tripod and dive right into a YouTube video. And I realized that the composition, the orientation of my camera was actually in vertical position. Those of you that do social media, you know that different types of platforms, so Instagram uses a vertical orientation, whereas YouTube, you have to record horizontally. Often with, if you're creating your own art videos for your website or for any platform, often you have to record horizontally and then rotate the video depending on what phone system you have or what, how you're video recording. So this is a lot of information, but those of you that have ever created classes and put them online or who use social media to upload videos, you will totally understand my dilemma, because I had done this awesome little studio tour and then I realized when I went to hook you up, I was in the wrong orientation. So I am going to probably post the studio tour on Instagram, and I might try and upload it to YouTube. We shall see. It's a little bit of it can cause, I think, dizziness. So I would say proceed with caution if you watch that video, because I'm a little bit jittery. Anyway, for those of you that know me, I have a little bit of a tremor, so I am not nervous. I just have this natural tremor. I also don't edit my videos, and I took a break over the summer, which was absolutely welcomed. I feel so refreshed, and I just realized that the summertime is really great for family time, especially because I have a young family, and I really, I think, underestimated how much time I would have to do art and videos and create, and it was just really busy. So I have all this like pent up excitement and inspiration, and there's so many things I want to share today. So the video I had done yesterday, I had swatched these stone ground paints, just 14 little paints in this palette from the Stone Ground Paint Co. I just happen to have one of my art poetry paintings in like a wallpaper sticker on here that's really hard to get off, but the Stone Ground Paint Co. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I have I have a little painting on this one as well. And this was another little palette that I love with just 4 paints. And I forgot to swatch those, so I might just do a little swatch video of those at some point. But if you were watching that video, thank you, that's awesome. I am gonna do another swatch video today, this time with a different set of paints. And I'm gonna use the back of this watercolor paper. So this is 140-pound Canson XL mixed media or watercolor paper. If you go to the store and you see Canson XL watercolor paper, just know if you also see Canson XL mixed media paper, as long as it says 140 pounds in the bottom corner, you have the right paper that I'm also using. And it's just a really great quality for, sort of, it's a good quality paper. I wouldn't say it's the best for watercolors, but it's excellent if you're just doing watercolor for yourself or as play, practice, and yeah, I can use both sides. So that was a question I had when I first started painting with watercolors is, are both sides of this paper able to take watercolor and pigment? And they are. So at least the papers I use are. So I'm going to use the back of this, and I have so many things I want to share. So I want to start by saying my art poetry for insights and inspiration art deck, the 71 card deck, is back in stock on my website, and this is what it looks like. And I am going to pull a card from that shortly. So just a heads up that I have restocked these cards, and I do ship worldwide. And I am really excited. So during my video yesterday, I had shared a little snapshot of what my rescue dog Oakley looks like, and he's right behind me here sleeping. And we are going to be featured, mostly him. He's going to be the star of the show. And this is the magazine. So some of you that had seen my video said, well, where can I find the publication, and you know, what's up with the photo shoot and the article that you're doing. And What Women Create is one of my favorite magazines. There's also another version by the same company called Where Women Create. And it's just a really, really inspiring art magazine that features artists all over the world. And yeah, it's just wonderful. So this is sold here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada at Indigo Chapters. And I believe you can probably get the digital version. I think they've gotten into that just with sort of environmental practices and maybe less people buying the physical magazine. I love the physical touch of flipping through magazines and listening to pages. That's just something that makes me really, really happy. I don't know if you all have heard of ASMR, but my version of ASMR is, you know, sitting beside someone in a quiet space and, you know, sharing space with that person while they're flipping through a magazine. And I love sort of that sound, and it really brings me a lot of dopamine and serotonin. And I think it reminds me of when I was a kid and I would sit at the kitchen table with my grandparents when they were visiting from Nova Scotia, and I could hear him flipping through the newspaper, and it was just such a safe place. It was such a, I think, amazing time where I had that time with my grandfather. Very special. Okay, so moving on, ASMR is a whole different topic. And but yeah, What Women Create, Where Women Create is the magazine, and this is just an example of the feature that I'm going to be doing, which is called Pet Tales. And so Pet Tales, spelled T-A-L-E-S. So I love that little like play on words. And this is Louie and Leslie Lewis Singer. I love how the dog's name Louie is sort of a takeoff of this artist's last name Lewis. I think that would be so cool. It doesn't work with Oakley and I because my last name is Dorant, so I suppose his name would have to be Dory. And yeah, it's really neat. So this article will be written through, I'm going to be writing the article, and then it's through the eyes of my rescue, Oakley, just like this was through the eyes of Louie. This is cute. It looks like he has the zoomies, which Oakley gets when the fresh air in the fall hits. And it does also feature Leslie's work, but sort of through the eyes and the support of her dog with a job, the dog helper. And they also have publications where they have a cat and, you know, different pets. I think I've only seen a dog and a cat. I haven't seen any other exotic pets or anything. But yeah, this is just an example of a pet tale. And yeah, a beautiful magazine. If you happen to see this out, it's just a great one. And I believe they might have this in some libraries too, at least in Canada. So I'm just gonna set that aside. And I'm gonna flip over, well, before I do that, there's so many things I wanna share. So I'm gonna start with I'll start with my art poetry cards, and I'm just gonna pull a card just to kind of loosen up. I find like it's a great way for me to loosen up during my videos. This was the card I picked yesterday, Grow in Nature. Has a lot of green in it, and green just is a wonderful color that, you know, lights us up, and you know, we associate with new growth and spring and nature and just, I guess, like abundance and lush. I'm just gonna flip through, whoops. These cards are really stiff because this is a new deck. And sometimes I like to take a few and just kind of bend them a little bit. and get them so they're well loved. And I'm just going to randomly pick a card. I'm just going to go for this card here. And this card is of my art that has sort of that reticulated texture, that pattern that you see in this watercolor fluid art. And I think of this as almost like a landscape, almost in a bouquet, sort of an aerial landscape looking down, maybe at the water. Someone that had purchased a painting of this style told me it reminded her of her time I forget where she was. It was in the desert, but she said this reminded her of sand dunes and the way the wind would blow the sand over the hills. And it just really reminded her of her vacation, which was really neat, because when I had painted it, that's not sort of how I was interpreting it. It's a very abstract piece. And it's really hard to see because, of course, this is a print. It's not like a really high quality print of the original. And the card, I chose the words "find freedom in allowing and not judging." So I think that's just something that we as humans need to remind ourselves as, and especially as creatives and artists, especially if we tend to put a lot of pressure on ourselves. I think, you know, the way I create best is by not judging what I'm doing in every moment that I'm creating. I'm constantly kind of being a witness to those thoughts, those negative thoughts that can kind of creep in when we're doing something and we may not feel that confident in it. And, you know, art is so personable, it's so vulnerable, and just knowing that what you're doing, you know, even if it's not going to come out the way you had planned or the way you think you would like or the way that you think you would sell it, you know, it's coming out from a very authentic place, a place of play, of practice, of experimentation. And those moments were not wasted, no matter what. Even if you create, you know, mud out of your paints, you know, you will later learn that you might want to incorporate some muddy colors, some neutrals next to those brights. And yeah, just I'm really, I know you all say, I love your sidetracking. I do get really sidetracked. That's just the way kind of my brain goes. But I have talked to a really good friend I had reconnected with, and I also had an artist reach out to me this morning and had asked me about just some advice, and she was dealing with a lot of anxiety and not really feeling good enough and with what she was producing. And I think the biggest thing is, you know, you are constantly having to, well, at least I find, turn off those thoughts and just allow yourself to create, to know that you are worth using those supplies that you have purchased, and, you know, just not judging what you're doing, because what you're doing is putting something, a part of yourself, back out into the world. Whether you share it or not, you're expressing yourself, and you may in that time be also in a place of relaxation and meditation and finding yourself, and all of those things will in turn make you a better human. And it's contagious. So, you know, when you have that energy, people see your work, they can see the energy, the care, the authenticity that went into it, because it's your own voice. It's just a really great thing, and we need more of that in the world. So this card, I feel like I could just have on my studio wall in one of those little magnetic holders or those little frames, and just have this up. It's just constantly allowing ourselves to play and explore and not judging. So, and these colors are colors I wouldn't typically use in my work, but I'm just gonna leave that there for today, that card. And I have way better lighting today. It's a beautiful day here in Calgary. I thought what I could do is, I am gonna pull a card from this gorgeous color cube. So I got 2 color cubes. I'm not sure what volume this is. I have not really dived into it yet, This was gifted to me a number of months ago, and I'm just so excited to use this in my videos. So Color Cube, this is volume 1, okay. And it's by Sarah Renee Clark. And I think she sells these just directly off her website. And this is just such an incredible resource for artists and creatives. And let's just pick a random card. Wow, this is really a beautiful fall card. So this is an example of one of her cards, and being that it's September now and I'm just starting to see the leaves change pretty early to yellow, you have all of these beautiful colors down here, and then the photo, the inspirational picture to match the colors that you've chosen. You know, on days where you're just not sure what colors to use, this is a really great way of kind of, you know, breaking a blank page, you know, just a place to kind of jump off and let your ideas kind of take flight, and learning about colors. So I'm familiar, marigold is a color that I use quite often in golden paints. I don't use a lot of dark brown, but I like to incorporate versions of the dark brown. I love copper, I use that in my work. This is sort of a lighter marigold. And then orange, which is such a joyful, bright color. I like to use orange sometimes as like a pop of color. And yeah, so these color cube cards are wonderful. And sometimes, you know, just pulling the card and looking at it is enough to feel inspired to maybe go take a photo, take a walk in nature, and maybe explore, you know, do you have any crayons, pencil crayons, watercolor paints that match any of these colors, and can you pull those out, and is there one that kind of speaks to you more than the other, or would you want to use all of those? So that's our color card that I can pull out for today. So again, I'll put this in the description, but this is Color Cube Volume 1, and this was designed by artist Sarah Renee Clark. So I'm going to slip number 146 just back in there. Depending on time, I may or may not go back to that. And I'm just going to move my art poetry deck and show you. So I've been working on collage, a lot of collage, and mounting of papers to wood panel. So I'm just going to grab a few others. Okay, so I thought I would just share with you some fun things I've been doing. So I was working on this painting, and it was on paper, and I just wasn't feeling it. I really loved it, and at one point I decided to add, I think I added more of a green, more of a grassy green to it, and then I didn't like it as much, and I was sort of playing around, and I got to a place where normally when I edit my work, I love it more. And this was me getting to a place where I just wasn't feeling it, and I was kind of maybe overworking it. So I just decided to cut it and to mount it to these cradled wood panels. Now, I had just purchased these wood panels. I buy quite a few of these at the art store here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, both at Kensington Art Supply and Inglewood Art Store. And these also you can get online. I believe you can get this type of panel on Amazon. And I had just decided to revisit these separately, but you know, I may put them up on my wall together. And so I'm just kind of finishing these up. And so I thought I'd share that with you. And then in the same size, I can't remember if I had showed you this one, but I had finished this one. So this was Collage, and this is a botanical painted paper that was handmade. And this little leaf was from a bouquet that my husband had brought home for me, a bouquet of flowers. And I was thinking, how can I kind of remember this moment, this bouquet, these beautiful flowers. So obviously by taking a photo, but also being inspired by getting a print of the actual leaf that came off the flowers. So I've been using quite a bit of that in my work. This was just a painting. I really loved this color, this coral, and I loved the texture. I wanted to incorporate some black and white and just some reticulated pattern. And there I had just signed up the side with a gold pen. And then I had cut up a huge painting that I had done that was just really playful. And these came out of that. And I'm really, really happy with these. This one really speaks to me from a distance. I see a bird in here, and it has a lot of interest with the reticulated texture. I did use a varnish on this, so it's a little bit shiny. And just playing around with using black and white, I am learning what smudges with what varnishes, water-based pens versus permanent. Even some black pens that say they're permanent have smudged. So I'm just kind of playing around, and this was really good practice. So I'm quite happy with the way these turned out, and I left the edges the natural wood. Normally I paint my edges, but I can always go back and revisit this after I've kind of lived with these for a little while and had them on my wall. I don't even have to put any of the D-rings or the hanging wire, because these can just sit on a nail really nicely. And if you're not in an earthquake zone, these are not going to jump off the wall. So, and then this is when I'm just working on, this is a watercolor base. So this is what I would call like my watercolor background, and it's ready for mark making, maybe some collage. And again, I just liked this size. And then I had so when I'm really organized, I prepare the wood panel after I purchase it. So I bought this cradled wood panel at the art store. I think this is a 9 by 12 inch panel. And then I painted the edges with this iridescent bronze, which I really like. And it's a very, very buttery, thick, beautiful paint. It was a heavy body paint by Golden. And I think it was called Iridescent Fine Bronze in Heavy Body Paint by Golden. I can always link that in the description. And then I had these little rings, which you can just use a hand drill, make a hole, and then you can just screw these in. And so this is ready for me to go to my stash of works on paper, or, you know, if you don't have works in paper, just grabbing you know, 140-pound paper. And there's lots of videos. I have done several. There's really a lot online about how to mount paper to panel. So this would be ready now. And the good thing is these edges are painted. So if you are working with like white watercolor paper you've mounted on your painting, you're not at risk of damaging the painting or getting the paint. You know, I could be a little bit messy with my paint, whereas historically, I get too excited, I mount the paper to the panel, and then I paint the edges, and I'm dealing with either taping or using a varnish where I can later wipe off any paint that kind of gets on the painting. But this is something I've learned, I kind of learned the hard way by just doing it the hard way. And so I would recommend, if you're gonna paint the edges of a cradled wood panel, making sure you do it before you mount the painting on the paper. When I say mount, that just means glue. And then this is a work in progress, so same deal, it's just really big. And the front side, I'm so happy about. I'm just gonna see how much you can see in my viewfinder here. So I love that kind of bronze edge. And then this is 140-pound watercolor paper with my watercolor background, this really intuitive background that's ready for mark making. And you can see I used a pencil crayon, a water-soluble crayon up there just to start a bit of a flower. And I also have one down there. And I was going to finish this painting when it was just on the pad of paper, but I was too excited and I mounted this the other day, and now I just can't wait to finish it. So stay tuned for that. I have so many other works in progress, but I don't want to make you all go crazy by just showing you and not actually painting. And this is just another little one I had done, which I think I was tired. The other day I was like, ooh, that signature worked really well. And then I turned it and I'm like, oh, I'd already signed it. So, but because I'll probably fit it into this little frame, you know, it's not a big deal that I also have that gold signature on the side, and I could always paint the edges over top. So I'm not too worried about that. In this painting, you can see that same leaf that I used from the bouquet, and just playing around. This was an old sewing pattern of my mom's called So Simple, and working with those old vintage sewing patterns is pretty awesome. They are prone to tearing though, so I would recommend putting the glue or the adhesive, matte medium, whatever you use to stick it on, even a glue stick, putting it down on the paper first and then tearing off the sewing pattern and putting it down, because it's so vulnerable to tearing. So it's not like other collage where, you know, you may want to spray the back of the piece or wet the paper with glue and wet the piece and then put it on. That can tear it. So I will maybe do some videos on collage at some point. So I'm going to set that one aside. And I'm going to do a swatch video. So I'm working on Canson XL. This is, I don't think it stands for extra large, but this is an extra large pad of paper. This is so 98 pounds, which is good enough for what I'm doing with my swatching. I also love 98-pound paper for collaging and just kind of playing around with drawings and stuff. It's not as high quality for an actual painting that, you know, I would plan on selling, but I would use this for painted papers. I use this for swatch videos, and I love this size, 18 by 24 inches, because I can take away any glare that might be on my table and just cover up my table with this paper. And I'm gonna be, this is another swatch video that I really wanted to do, and I'm doing this for my friend Jen, who I've recently connected with. You'll be hearing about her. She's one of my best friends from childhood. We've recently reconnected. We never really lost touch entirely, but you know, with age, you know, you grow distant and different groups of friends and moving and whatnot. But she is interested in learning more about creativity and art, and had asked me to recommend an affordable kind of, you know, or just a starter set. She didn't really say affordable, but I was thinking, you know, if she doesn't like it, I don't want to recommend something super expensive. So this you can ignore. That was just another one of my stickers, Poetry of the Desert, another painting I had. And this is a palette I ordered off of Amazon. I checked yesterday and it's around $25 Canadian, which would of course be cheaper if you were in the US, more affordable. This is Mozart, and it's called the Komorebi set. So that's the spelling, Komorebi, and there's the color chart. I often don't do the color chart, but I had done it this time. And this is the palette that I've recommended to Jen. She's in the US right now. And it's just easy because if we're working with the same set during my videos, at least with some videos, if I don't venture out too much, it's just really helpful. So I'm going to do a swatch video on this one today. And just see, how can we do this so you can see really well what I'm doing. Okay. That looks pretty good. And one thing, so if you're just starting to get into watercolor or painting, You know, maybe you're doing it for relaxation or considering picking up painting as a practice, or, you know, to start selling your work. You want to start with materials that are affordable, but I recommend high quality, or well, I mean, I recommend better paper than watercolors. So I would rather someone buy 140-pound watercolor paper. So that Canson mixed media 140-pound paper over, you know, just a cheaper, thinner paper. So the 140 pounds is a heavier weight, so it's going to hold the pigment in the water or whatever medium you're using better than, say, a 90-pound paper or a 98-pound paper. So papers are weighted, and this one I'm using for my swatch is 140 pounds, so it's just a really fairly thick paper. And I would say you can use any watercolors, but this is a good starter set because it has neons, it has metallics, it has a real variety. And personally, I think $25 Canadian for this Japanese watercolor set. This is, in my mind, fairly high quality. I paint often, and I just really like this set. So each pan, so these little pans have a number on the bottom, so number 75, and they have a chart which also corresponds with the number and the name. So this is neon pink number 75, for example. So I'm just going to start at the top, and what I thought we would do is, if you're new to painting, the other thing is, if you get a new brush, so say, you know, just a basic brush, I started with a round brush. I started with a large one. This is number 12, and it's by Princeton Art and Brush Co. I love painting with this size. I have tried smaller and I don't enjoy it, and I've tried larger and I don't enjoy it as much. And so it's sort of like interesting that, is this my comfort because this is what I started with, or you know, is this just a really great size for the type of intuitive abstract watercolor that I do? If you get a new brush, no matter what the shape, the size, I really like Princeton because it's affordable, and I've just really enjoyed their brushes. I recommend playing with the shape of the brush just to become familiar with it. So the benefit of purchasing, say, your very first watercolor set, getting some good paper, you know, good brushes, just a decent brush. I mean, even a super cheap brush is fine, and just seeing how it feels. Watercolor brushes are probably more ideal if you're just starting because they are meant to hold more water. And so if you use a cheaper brush that's not meant for watercolor, that can be a little harder. It's harder for you to get a feel for the medium. So I would normally start with this, but I had just purchased this angular Princeton Art and Brush Co. shader, and it's a 1.5-inch brush. And I want to get comfortable with it, and I also want to do a video that would benefit me and also hopefully benefit you all, and especially Jen, because I know you just ordered this palette, and so this is just a win-win and sort of relaxing doing these videos. So I'm going to start with number 17, and it'll take me a minute to get in a rhythm. There are a lot of paints in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's about 40 paints in this set, and I'll see how I do by keeping you all in the camera view. And I'm gonna start with Crimson, number 17. And I get my brush wet first, and then I just dive right into the paint, and I pick up a lot of pigment. And what I want to do is just play with the shape of this brush. So I'm just going to put that down. I kind of push down and lift it up, and I am going to clean my brush on the side here, and then dip into the next color. Or I'll dip into my water first, and you don't want it dripping too much. You sort of want to, you know, get some of the water off and then go into the next one. So am I going to have room for 8 here? I'll go fairly close together. Okay, number 18 is Carmine. That is gorgeous. That reminds me of quinacridone magenta. Very beautiful color. So I'm gonna clean my brush off on the paper, creating textures for future work. And I'm gonna dip into number 12. I think that's 12. I have paint, or is it 22? Let's see. Oh, 22. So 22, which is, sounds like Cerise, C-E-R-I-S-E. And I'm kind of dipping next door to the one here. That is more of a violet magenta. It's really beautiful. And then I'm gonna go to violet, number 30. Oops, I'm in the wrong one. Okay, I went, just so I'm not gonna confuse you all. I often miss paints. I often miss a pan when I'm doing swatch videos. It's just, it just wouldn't be the same if I didn't miss one. So you guys will have to keep me on my toes and hopefully I don't miss one. So number 34, this is violet. And I actually like seeing the mix. So I'm probably not doing the best swatch video for you all with the mixing, but you get the point of, you know, sort of how you can see the slightly different colors. And then number 25, which is Hyacinth Violet. Whoops, I was trying not to touch there. That is amazing, like a really deep magenta violet. And I'm enjoying this brush, just it's very different than what I'm used to. I'm gonna go to red ochre, and I'm gonna do a different shape because I'm running out of space. And I'm also wanting to see what kind of marks can I make with this brush. I'm gonna go to number 7, which is yellow ochre. And hopefully you all can see, just looking here through my camera. And then number 6, which is Gamboge. It's a very pretty, joyful orange. And then I'm going to go to number 10, so the second row on the far left, and this is orange. And then number 3, which is brilliant yellow. And I'm kind of playing around with the pressure I'm putting on the brush and the amount of pigment. I'm trying to get a fair bit of pigment loaded on the brush so you all can see. I love the watercolor effect of opaque, thick, juicy paint. So lots of pigment, and there's a lot of watercolor artists, you know, watercolor is meant for that beautiful transparency traditionally, but we all use it a bit differently, I think, when we find our rhythm. So number 44, which is grass green. And that is a beautiful green. And then I'm gonna go to number 45, which is olive green. And I'm just gonna go the other way. And then number 43, which is brilliant green. And I'm just reminded how beautiful this Japanese Mozart Komorebi set is. And this is peak green, number 42, which is second from the right on the second row. And it's almost a neon kind of green. And then number 51, turquoise, which is, you can see I've really, I've used this color so much. I really love this turquoise. It is stunning. Beautiful, beautiful color. And then I'm gonna go to, just move this up a little bit. I'm gonna go to number 30, which is Ultramarine. And then just to the right of number 30, Ultramarine, is Azurite Blue. Try and do more of a circular motion. And then number 90 is Deep Blue. Do another circle. And so while you're swatching, you're learning about what colors may kind of light up that part of your brain. You're learning about how it feels to get more water versus more pigment. You know, I realize that's a really awesome shape, and I don't use this brush very often. So you're kind of, you know, learning about what you might use or do differently in the future. So nothing is wasted. Your time is not wasted. As you're doing this, you're lowering your blood pressure and you're firing those creative neurons, those new pathways in your brain, and creating memories of this practice and how you feel. So number 52, this was brown. Number 53 is burnt sienna. And burnt sienna, I believe, is a great color for mixing and creating dark, dark colors. If you don't want to use black in your work, burnt sienna is a great one to mix with some of the greens and the blues. And then number 55, which is burnt umber. And that's kind of a neat, earthy, greenish brown. And then next up we have Payne's gray. Number 61. And just as I'm doing this, I just had this thought that I kind of witnessed, which I'm gonna say out loud, which is, well, first, I really love that Payne's gray. I have to use that more, so that's coming to my mind right now. But what I was thinking was, normally this would bother me that all of my shapes are different, that I have, you know, bleeding into one another, that, you know, I'm doing a video for you all, but why didn't I do this in, say, one shape, or not have it bleed so you could all appreciate the colors? So that's the judging that's going through my mind as I do this video. And I find it really interesting because I'm sure that you all appreciate the video even with me doing it in this way that's kind of like atypical, but I just thought it would be good for me to share some of my, you know, somewhat negative thinking, but I'm also catching myself as I'm going. So this is number 60, which is a really beautiful light gray, and that's the third row far right. And then I'm gonna go into the deep black, number 62, which is the fourth row down on the left. And that's a really nice black. Some blacks are really not very pigmented, like Mars black I think is a bit lighter, but that's a really great black. And then white I don't have in there. I put zinc white from another company. I think this is from the Stone Ground Paint Co. I go through a lot of white, so I'm not gonna demo that. And I'm gonna dip into the neon pink. And I see I had a little bit of purple or maybe a bit of black left on my brush, and that's okay. I'm just gonna kind of do a heart, and look at that bleeding. So you can also see how beautiful that color is right up here. And then I'm gonna go into neon orange. And the neons may not be light fast, they may not last as long, they may fade quicker than the regular colors, just because neons have not been something that we've really had access to as artists for, I mean, I don't know how long neons have been around, but I get asked the question a lot about kind of the quality and how well they'll last. And I couldn't tell you, I just love neons in my work. I know that they'll probably fade. And yeah, so if you're selling your work and if that's something you want to consider, that's just something to consider. So this neon red is one of my favorite colors. I love mixing that, the fluorescent red or the neon red, with a white paint and getting a beautiful light pink. I tend to use that a lot in my work. And then number 70, which is neon yellow. And don't need a lot to see that. And again, that might have had a bit of pink in it, but that's okay. I mean, the whole point of swatching, there's many different benefits, but you can just see these pigments are beautiful. Really, really beautiful. The blooms when you see the pigment drying, and yeah, this almost looks like a gemstone, this turquoise, number 51. Really, really pretty. So I'm gonna flip to the neon green, which is number 81, which is lighter than the peak green, number 42. So it's a nice kind of transparent green. The beauty of watercolors is you can layer. Layering is such a really amazing quality of watercolor. And then the neon blue, I'm just gonna tuck in here because I kind of ran out of space. Again, not just allowing myself to not worry about that and to not judge what I'm doing just because I'm on video. I'm gonna stay true to myself and try and get out of that, like, fitting in a mold, that perfectionism or feeling like I need structure because I'm teaching. And I'm gonna go into capital AH. So they used letters down at the bottom here, AH, which is metallic red ochre, which reminds me a bit of an iridescent copper. And I'll just put that in here. And then we're gonna go into metallic bronze. And I find with the metallics, they're good, but you need to really push your brush into the pigment, get lots and lots of pigment on there. And then that is a Q, the metallic bronze, and then I'm going into AU, for you Australians, AU, which is metallic gold. And I love how this blue had dried, and you can see those blooms, and then putting that gold over top as a transparent layer is really, really beautiful. And then I have AG, which is a metallic purple, which again is very light. It's almost like a pinky purple lavender, but you know, that would be another neat one to go over. So if you can look at when I went over this area, I love how there's a bit of transparency and it shows depth right here from the layers. You know, I did not know for a long time, even though I took a lot of watercolor classes online and really enjoyed watercolor, I didn't appreciate that you could layer it so easily and how much joy I get from that layering process. So this is metallic green, which is AS. And last but not least, we have, well, we have two more, but the metallic white I had used up. I really liked it. And it wouldn't show up very well in swatching, but it was good quality because it's gone. I used the whole thing and I don't know where the pen went. Obviously I refilled it with something else. And so AF, which is the metallic blue right here, which is very pearlescent. I believe that there's an ingredient like mica powders. I don't know how they make these pearlescent watercolors. They're super pretty. Okay, so that is the end of the swatch video, and what I can do is just maybe hold this up and go through again. So number 17, which is Crimson, then there's 18 Carmine, 22 Cerise, 34 Violet, 25 Hyacinth Violet, and then there's Red Ochre, Yellow Ochre, and Gamboge, which has become more of a turquoise. We have number 10 Orange, 3 Brilliant Yellow, number 1 is Lemon Yellow. I'm gonna see if I have a pointer here. We have Grass Green, 44, 45 Olive Green, 43 Brilliant Green, 42 Peat Green, 51 Turquoise. And just as I'm doing this, I'm like, why am I doing this? But I'm not judging. If I by mistake dropped my palette off my table and all of these went everywhere and I had to put them back in order, I feel excited now that I could go to this video and someone, well, me, is reading these off, so it just makes life easier. But let's hope. I think because I did this video, it's like Murphy's Law, I probably won't knock it over. Okay, number 30, Ultramarine. Number 89, Azurite Blue. Number 90, Deep Blue. 52, Brown. 53, Burnt Sienna. 55, Burnt Umber. 61, Payne's Gray. 60 is Gray. 62 is Deep Black. And then I skipped 59, which is White. 75, Neon Pink, which has become more of a purple, but the pink is really vibrant. Number 73, Neon Orange. 78, Neon Red. That's the color that if you mix, some brands call it fluorescent red, like Liquitex. I forget the one by Golden, but acrylic paints, if you mix this color with white, it's a beautiful, vibrant, light pink. One tip, actually, as I'm going through here, is if you mix any of these neons with white, you'll get the most vibrant, pastel, beautiful, pale color. So number 70 is Neon Yellow, 81 is Neon Green, and then down below here I put Neon Blue, and then Metallic Red Ochre, AQ, Metallic Bronze. Right now I'm judging because I have a bit of a tremor and I'm like, I really should put this down and zoom you in. So I am gonna listen to that, but also not really judge myself. There we go. So AQ Metallic Bronze, AU Metallic Gold, or sorry, did I miss one? Oh no, oh my gosh, I did miss one. That's so funny. It wouldn't be a swatch video if I didn't miss it. So AH Metallic Red Ochre, AQ is Metallic Bronze, AU is Metallic Gold. So I missed AD. Oh my gosh, I missed my initials, Alison Durant, which is this awesome metallic yellow. Okay, so this is AD, Alison Durant, metallic yellow, and we're just gonna put it right down here. Phew, that's really pretty and very pigmented, and it would be amazing to, again, lay over top of something that is already dry. You can probably hear some construction. I'm just looking out and they're redoing the roof across the way. And okay, yes, so that is the swatch video for today. I will link this in the description. Komorebi by Mozart, 40 paint palette. And I am going to, sorry, I saw my friend Alan is walking by outside and I often talk to him. So I was just gonna see if he's setting up. He likes to sit out in the sun out there. I'm gonna give him a wave. I don't know if you can see me. Okay, okay, I'm totally distracted now. I am gonna just move this out of the way. And I'll probably wrap up my video in about 6 minutes to make it an hour. thought I'd share with you another work in progress, and also thank you to those of you that had ordered some of my cat prints. So I introduced some of my cats on canvas, the prints, yesterday in my video, and I just thought I'd share these bookmarks because I'd forgotten, and they're super cute. So I have Milo up top, this is Samson, and then this is Miss Oak, which, even though it's a cat, it reminds me of my dog Oakley. And there's just something about the face. I don't know why, but Oakley has a lot of character, and he often thinks he's a cat, and he sits really high perched on the couch, and he has the personality more of a cat. He likes to be ignored, but he also likes to like run the show. And anyway, so this is Miss Oak, which really is like my dog coming through as a cat. Okay, enough of that. And then this, I was so excited. I'm doing collage on canvas, and I had just discovered some new techniques, which maybe at some point I'll share, but these are, again, painted papers that I've glued down, and I did some sort of loose contour drawing, and also added some of my reticulated patterns, some acrylic inks. I really love this turquoise color. I like, even though it's a nuisance, I love wrapping my art around the panel, the canvas. I think some people just paint so naturally that way, but for me it really took a lot of thought to like keep it going, keep it rolling, and not make it a huge mess or kind of lose the composition. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to finish this piece. I think I might outline this little iris and just bring it out more, maybe with like a fine orange Posca paint pen. I like the simplicity, like, I mean, it's busy, but it's also kind of simple in maybe color. And yeah, I thought I would just share this work. And I'd done some loose landscapes that I hope to do mark making on. And this is really cheap watercolor paper, but it's actually, the colors are quite vibrant. So these are not done yet. And I'm going to pull another few cards. It's so nice to have my deck back, and this color cube is just, it's calling my name, and I'm just gonna pick another card. These are gonna be all out of order, but that's okay. I'm gonna allow that to happen and not care. And this has a gorgeous peacock on it, and beautiful blues and greens, and a neutral. And I really love, you know, when I first started painting, I had rainbow-itis, where I just wanted to paint with all the colors. And I've talked about this before, but I had learned from some artists when I was taking classes online, there's such a benefit of using colors that you may not really like that much, or that are neutral. So this camel is a gorgeous neutral that in itself, well, it's so funny, I'm actually wearing this cable neck camel sweater, which really isn't my color, but I love the sweater. That's okay, going off track. But this camel, my brain is taking me in a different direction. It can be so beautiful next to these brights, and it can make the brights shine. I see a delivery person at my door, so hopefully they're not gonna ring the door, which will make me speed up this process and pick. Finding magic in each moment. So this was my art poetry painting, and it's titled A New Dawn. And the name Dawn has a lot of meaning for me, but also this painting, just being able to find magic in each moment and enjoying the moments, and really just cherishing moments, and not thinking too much about future or past. And okay, Oakley hasn't barked yet. That's really good. But yeah, and I'm just seeing some camel, actually. It's, I think, sort of a metallic gold I had used, but it's a bit of a camel color. And when I had painted this art poetry painting, I started with those neons, the bright pinks and yellows and turquoises. And then after learning so much from other artists, I thought, you know, I'm just gonna try and tone it down and neutralize it. So I added in some white clouds with acrylic paint. I sort of smudged in some different mediums and in neutral colors, including that camel color, and it really makes the brights pop. So yeah, so all I want to say is just thank you for sharing this moment with me, even though I get emotional because like I can't believe that yeah, I'm here doing this, and just the support is unbelievable. So I just want to express my gratitude, and also say really, yeah, I'm grateful for you in this moment. And I hope with whatever you're doing right now, you find peace in what you're doing, and you just allow yourself to do what comes to you. If you have an idea, see it out, play it forward, paint it out, create it, don't judge it, and it will have meaning. Even if that's all you do, you're learning from it. You are possibly just putting yourself in a better place at that time by doing what's calling you. And yeah, thank you so much. I'll see you all soon.